Okay, I've stopped here at my favorite local park, which actually also has a little motocross course. I haven't filmed on there yet, but I will. No, it's about 50 meters long. Anyway, this is for the next build video. So why am I shooting the first build bike? Well, I want to go over any problems or weaknesses or defects that I've had with it. One second. Now that I've got about 3,500 kilometers on it, I think I can, make an assessment. Is there anything I would have changed or anything that's not working right or breaking or whatever? So let's just go over that really super quickly. So I got to put the helmet on the bike because no free hands here in the park. Okay, so in general, knock on wood, the bike has had no major problems. Nothing, critical has broken. Nothing has died. I've never been stranded with it. Like I said, 3,500 kilometers. I don't know what that is in miles, maybe 2,500. So that's good. But there's a few little things that are not positive. A few little things kind of have annoyed me, or I would say sort of broken. I'll just do them as I think. First, foot pegs. No, not the pegs themselves, but specifically these black holders right here, these things. I mentioned them in the original build video that I got from AliExpress, and they had the wrong thread pattern. These have been nothing but problems. The issue is these are aluminum, and they are crap, soft Chinese aluminum, and even though I used lock nuts on there and Loctite, they over time always come loose, and when they come loose they start turning, and when they start turning, these pins from the holders fall out. At first I thought it was a problem with this holder, but it's not. It's these aluminum peg holders, and almost all the ones you find on AliExpress are kind of the same crappy aluminum. Anyway, there is now a new holder I just ordered that has an aluminum U-frame here, but has a metal bolt, countersunk bolt metal that goes through there. Should be much better and much stronger. So I highly do not recommend, and these also come in silver, but do not buy the Ali aluminum peg holders. It's a very critical thing. If these break off, you could really hurt yourself. Sorry about that. So do not get these. These have been problematic. While we're here, I need to talk about greasing. This jack shaft, Techniq EMX, in general, it's a great jack shaft. I mean, the quality is great. It's been super sturdy, but the maintenance on it is pretty high, I would say. I didn't grease it when I first bought it. When I first installed it, I didn't realize it needed greasing. Then after like 200 kilometers, it was starting click, 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 click sound. I realized it was a jack shaft, so I greased it. The problem is, well, just kind of getting your grease gun in there is a pain in the ass. But the other thing is there's two tiny countersunk little screws that you need to unscrew, one on this side, one on that side, for the grease to come out. I didn't do that the first time when you grease it, and it's just very hard to get to. It's a pain in the ass to grease it, and now at like 2,000 kilometers, I'm getting that clunk, clunk, clunk again. I greased it, and it was just a pain in the ass to get to everything. And just keep in mind with this, if you get this type of jack shaft, it needs pretty frequent maintenance, pretty frequent greasing, and just keep in mind you're going to have to do that. On this Warp 9, this new style linkage with the grease ports, just recently did it the first time greasing these, and they didn't really even need to take any grease, so these have been okay as far as maintenance. But the jack shaft has needed pretty regular maintenance. The primary chain, almost no maintenance at all, just normal cleaning and lubing. I did need to tighten it once. It got quite loose, so I did have to move the motor down and tighten it to get the right slack. Okay, now to the secondary chain. This, to be honest, has been a pain in the ass. Oh, I need to also mention about the cheap Chinese axle blocks in a second. No, I had YZ80, I had YZ250s before. I understand non-O-ring chains need maintenance, and I'm not talking about just cleaning. Yeah, cleaning you have to do frequently. It's a pain in the ass. Like, to really, honestly, to do a good thorough cleaning on this and lubing, but mainly cleaning, it takes me like half an hour to really do it a long time. It's a pain in the butt. But the main issue with this is a Renthal R1 420, by the way. Main issue with it is tensioning. I thought, after kind of the first break-in period, the first couple hundred kilometers, you get that initial stretch and you would have to do the tightening, and then that's pretty much it. No, I've had to do tightening on this tensioning probably half a dozen times you know, and it's only been 4 months. I mean 3,500 kilometers, but only 4 months. I've had to tension it 5 or 6 times, and yeah, it kind of blows. So I mean, it's understood that, you know, with a chain it's more maintenance than a belt, but just keep that in mind that, you know, if you're doing a high power build like this, it's not going to be so maintenance free like a stock Surron or, you know, a belt drive. Now getting to these Chinese Ali axle blocks, the issue actually I'm having is with the left-sided ones. The left side one, these things honestly kind of blow. First of all, this one, the bolt broke. Like I said, this one actually broke off. Part of it is stuck in the swing arm, and I would have to tap, you know, and drill to get it out. No matter how carefully I tensioned, first of all, the access here is very shitty. You have to use 2 10mm, you know, wrenches, and very hard to get in. I want to use like super narrow, super thin type wrenches. This opening in general, the swing arm should be designed with like 10mm more material up here, and then it would be stronger and you'd have more space to get in and adjust. But adjusting these, first of all, is a huge pain in the ass if you haven't owned a Surron. If you own one, you know what I mean, to get the wrenches in there. I don't have them to show. But the other thing is, no matter how much I, you know, carefully tightened there, adjusted, make sure it was torqued, they always over time would come loose, especially this left hand side. I ended up, no, first recommendation, use a fucking nylon lock nut instead of the regular nut they give you, which always comes loose. Nylon lock nut, that's the first thing. I didn't put that on there because that's my second recommendation, is use blue Loctite. Use a couple dabs of blue Loctite on the threads so this stays in place. Obviously the right side too. You know, use a lock nut and use Loctite. You know, I mean, it's not life and death. Obviously the bike still works great, but, you know, keep in mind it's maintenance that you're going to have to do. One small thing that has broken, it's not life and death, but it is annoying. It's this small thing, this XT60 cover plate, the MS that comes with the, you know, panel mounted XT60 that I got. Look at the battery build video for more information on this. These things that come with them, I've looked at every like different supplier. I can't find a nice rubber one or a good quality one, or one with like a plug that goes in the holes there that really sticks good. But this sort of standard one that comes with it, it's like a brittle PVC, and this one, honestly, after the first like 20 cycles, within a couple weeks, 20, you know, opening, closing, this thing broke off, and it's a pain in the ass to have to change it, because this is screwed in there. In general, it's a huge pain in the ass. So if you use this panel mount XC60, try to find it. Try to find a good cap with it, because this kind that comes with it is total garbage. Next thing I want to talk about is the Dorados in general. If you watched the first build video, you know I got them quite cheap. Got a great deal on them, like $450 or $430 or something. In general, they're great. I love the Dorado. They haven't been flexy or anything like that for me. Very solid steering feel, but I cannot, with the pump I have just sort of the standard like small shock pump, that mini pump. I cannot pump it up to an adequate air pressure where I'm not bottoming it out. Now, I'm not a super light dude. I'm like 90 kilograms, like 195 pounds, so I understand I'm pretty heavy, but I don't take big jumps. But even on small jumps, I'm talking like you're only 2 or 3 feet in the air, it's coming down and totally bottoming out. I tried you know, adding more air in the fork, and what happens is with the style pump I have, which is, you know, your regular, I'll show a picture of it, your regular kind of mini shock pump, pump it up to the maximum recommended, and I think the maximum Manitou recommends is 110 psi. It's pretty low. It's not like 170 or something. Did it to the maximum. As soon as you take off from the nipple there, or if you've got the lever thing, as soon as you take it off, you get a psh, you know, of air coming out, and so some of the pressure is going out. So I don't know what my actual pressure in here is. That much of drop, maybe 1.5 inches. So I understand it's probably not the fault of the Dorado itself, that I need to figure out how to have more air in it, but just be aware that, you know, this problem, I am sure you probably need a specialized air pump that when you disconnect it, no air comes out. But the Von Cat, this one, I'm quite sure I have the 550-pound spring in it, but I can take, like I said, I'm not light dude, but what's my spring? I can take pretty small jumps in this, like 3 foot, and I'm actually dragging the pegs on the ground. The pegs are touching the ground, so it means, you know, both are totally bottoming out. I understand. Lose some weight fast. Get down to your old weight of like 172. That would be great, my racing weight. But at 57 plus, it's not going to happen. And last but not least, I want to talk about the battery itself. If you watch the battery pack video, you kind of, you know, understand everything that went into that. I built this battery pack from scratch. So it has worked perfectly. I've been really happy with the performance. The range is a little less than what I would have hoped for. I get about 80 kilometers in mixed riding, like street and trail. Of course, this is with very aggressive motocross tires. About 80 kilometers, so I guess that's right around 50 miles. The battery pack is 2,880 watt hours. It's an 80 volt, 36 amp hour, 22S9P. So it's 2880 watt hours, so it's not huge capacity, but power was more important to me than capacity. But what do I want to say about it? It's performed perfectly. No, in general, I love this pack. The performance is great. Voltage sag hasn't seemed too bad, except at the very bottom of the pack. For me, bottom low voltage cutoff is 66 volts, and when I get down to about even 20%, the 15 definitely, but even like 22%, which on this pack is hold on, I'll show what we're at now, which on this pack it's like 72, 73 volts. So maybe, you know, there's the bottom. Now we're at 86.1, which is 76%. When it gets down pretty close to 20%, about 73 volts, the voltage drop is just nuts. I have to be super careful to not give it a lot of throttle, not put a lot of load on it. And like those last 10, 15 kilometers, the last 15, 20% of the pack, I've got to drive super gingerly. You know, when I built this pack, at the time, monocells were not really available. The P45B was over double the price of the 42A and the Samsungs. So the 45B I wasn't really considering at the time. Now 45Bs have come down a lot. I was going to originally use P42A, but they were out of stock everywhere in Europe for like 4 months over this past winter. So I decided to use 40Ts. 40Ts are supposed to be the high power Samsung. I use those in my Canyon bike build, which you can see, and I made a video about the build on the channel here. What am I trying to say? The short version is, I just did an extensive cell comparison test between all the monocells and all the Samsungs that are currently being used for Surron E-moto builds, and the short version is the 40T performed really shockingly badly. I was so bummed out, so surprised to see how badly it performed. Long story short, it did even worse in the 50S. So I was saying, gotta wrap this up because too much noise here in the park. Long story short, 40T, you will see the battery comparison video because that's going to be published long before this street build video is ready, which is going to be like next spring. But anyway, the 40T performed really badly. I'm really surprised. Even worse than the 50S as far as voltage sag and temperature increase. So the 40T, unfortunately, I can't recommend it. No, in this bike, it's performing. I'm really happy with the performance, but I understand now that it would be much better if I used any of the model cell, 42, 45, or 50. That's it. Sorry if this was kind of long, but I just want to go over pros and cons now that I put some miles on this build. Sorry to keep shooting the previous build and the new build video, but I thought of a couple points I want to make that I think are valid, that I forgot before. I want to talk about aspects of this build that I kind of cheaped out on. You know, in particular, what people really rag on in the forums and kind of the experts, quote unquote. Anyway, what people in the forums kind of really talk trash about, and I want to discuss it. First, let's talk about the headlight. I use the stock headlight. I understand it's kind of cheesy, that there's a lot better headlights out there. However, I never ride at night. As I was saying, I never really ride at night. Not a night rider. So for me, the stock headlight is okay. I'm thinking on the new build, I'm probably going to go with a cool upgraded one because the street build is more likely to get ridden sometimes at night. But anyway, for me, this light has been okay. But really what I want to talk about are the MT7s. A lot of people in the forums rag on them. A lot of people talk shit about the MT7s. I just want to say, with this build, the MT7s have been absolutely fine with me. Yes, I understand they're designed for 15 kilogram mountain bike with, 500 watt human power, not 67 kilogram monster, with 50 times as much power. I understand that. However, these MT7s with the 220 Magura rotors, on this build, I haven't needed more. I can understand, if you're really riding a lot at high speed road riding, or you're riding motocross track, that to go with moto brakes would be, make a lot of sense, like Volar Sport or whatever. But for my use, these have been okay. And the one thing I want to mention about it is I greatly supplement my braking with this little guy right here. Hold on, I better put it on neutral before it takes off. The thumb brake, thumb regen for the X9000. It is a fantastic feature. I love having regen. I love, efficiency and putting power back into the battery. So I've gotten used to using that pretty much all the time instead of the back brake. And, only in cases where I really need stronger braking do I use this together with the front brake. And only really strong braking do I use, the hydraulic front and rear, and with possibly with the regen. So I just wanted to say, for those who say moto brakes are better, I agree. I'm sure they're better. I really wish that, the problem is there's no brand that's a clear leader for me in moto brakes. There's TRP, there's Hayes, there's Volar, there's a bunch of like small players, and to be honest, I've heard shitty things about, pluses and minuses on all of them. The two big brands, the two big ones, Magura and Brembo. Brembo obviously makes, motorcycle brakes for your Ninja 1100 or whatever, but they don't make E-moto brakes. Both of these brands are missing out on this huge market for, E-moto good quality brakes. Magura needs to make something bigger, heavier duty, using DOT4, not mineral oil, I think, maybe with a reservoir up top. And Brembo should make something smaller, like their great motorcycle brakes, but scaled down a little bit for E-moto. Either of those, I would totally buy, even if they cost double what these MT7s. I mean, the pair of MT7s is like $260, super cheap. So anyway, sorry to kind of go on about that, but I just want to mention those points. One thing I forgot to mention in that kind of pros and cons list that I just made, or I should say cons, things that broke, and it's probably the most important thing, and that is that overall utility, overall enjoyment. I get much more enjoyment. No, I was expecting to enjoy it, but I get much more use and fun and enjoyment even than I expected out of it. I mean, I expected it to be fun. I had the Kuberg before, and that was a lot of fun, but probably because it's so high performance is a big part of it, but I just enjoy the crap out of this bike. It is more fun, more useful than I even had imagined it would be, and I use it way more than I thought I would. So just to let you know, if you're on the fence about building one, buying one, super fun thing, and highly recommend it. I use it and enjoy it even way more than I thought I would, so don't hesitate.